Welcome back to Xbox Corner, my name's Luke, and today I'm joined by Alex as we bring you a selection of our favourite survival games available to play right now on Game Pass. Now it's worth noting that these are not really in any particular order, and they contain a mixture of both solo and multiplayer survival, as well as ranging from reasonably easy to pretty hardcore, so there should be something for everyone in this mix. Now we've also put together another couple of lists covering the best horror and first person shooters on Game Pass, and you'll find a link to those in this video's description. With that said though, hit that like button, subscribe for weekly deals, reviews, Game Pass breakdowns and more, and let's get into it. So first up, let's get one of the obvious ones out the way, and while there were plenty of survival games that came before it, the success of Minecraft seemed to act as a catalyst for the genre, with a huge leap in the number of them being produced since the game's release in 2011. Now if somehow you've been living under a rock for the past 11 years and haven't actually heard of this one, the game's survival mode drops you into a procedurally generated world with nothing but your fists, and then it's down to you to salvage materials, craft equipment, weapons and a shelter in order to survive the night and the hordes of zombies which come with it. Now it may not have the flashiest of graphics, but Minecraft was also responsible for a surge in the number of voxel games on the market, and it's easily one of the most accessible survival games on our list. It has some ingeniously simple crafting mechanics which also have a surprising amount of depth to them, a near limitless world to explore with a vast array of biomes, and nothing but your own creativity holding you back. The multiplayer aspect of the game is also one of its biggest highlights, with both 4-player local split screen and 8-player online co-op with cross-platform functionality, and I've lost count of the amount of hours that I've spent with this one over the years, but it's certain to be in the hundreds.
Okay, so it's my turn and I'm starting with State of Decay 2, and honestly it's not the strongest of games this one, but it's made by Undead Labs and published by Xbox Game Studios. It's a follow-up if that wasn't obvious given the 2 in the name, and it's for the zombie survival fans out there. This edition, the Juggernaut edition, and it replaces all prior versions, adding all add-on packs. That's going to be the Independence Pack, Daybreak Pack and Heartlands. Here though, it also adds a new town to explore. The tutorial experience has been refreshed, making it more accessible than ever. There's new weapons, a new user interface, controls have been tweaked, the graphics improved, and yes, this is optimized for the Series X and S. Finally, mission and gameplay adjustments as well. This one though, it's going to be for the third person fans out there. It's best experienced online with multiplayer. The big emphasis here, like many in the genre, looking for items and building up a safe location while facing permadeath.
So next up we have Grounded, and a disclaimer here, this one's actually still in development, but it's available as a game preview on both Xbox and PC. In the style of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids though, Grounded sees you reduced to the size of an ant and dropped into a surprisingly hostile back garden populated by all manner of critters and creatures, and you're then given free roam to explore your environment and gather whatever you can find to aid your survival. You'll be crafting things like armour out of beetle chitin, sharpening twigs into formidable spears, and building shelters from leaves, and it's a great little concept and one which up until now hasn't really been explored in much depth. Now I played this one a couple of months ago, and when it came to my experience, I think they really nailed it when it comes down to the world design, as you delve into termite mounds, swim alongside koi carp, and stumble across everyday objects which are now given new meaning from the perspective of your pint-sized body. Now it is worth noting that due to this one being a game preview, you're likely to find a few bugs here and there, no pun intended, but from what I've seen the developers are working hard at trying to fix them, as well as frequently adding new content to the game. If you're looking for a reasonably casual survival game to tackle either solo or online with a few mates, then I highly recommend giving Grounded a go.
Breathedge next then, and this is for those that want something that plays with a sci-fi theme. I was really impressed with this one, and it was released episodically, originally chapter by chapter, to allow that early access. What makes this unique is it's got full 360-degree movement because you are of course floating through space. You actually end up in this situation after a freak accident occurs. You can choose difficulty though, and it's got a whole lot of like accessibility options, permadeath, more forgiving, maybe experiment with certain areas where it punishes you. Think an oxygen meter that won't be for everyone because it limits the distance you can travel. Getting out here though, finding loot, constructing goods, it is great fun and addictive as ever, but the game unfortunately it loses its way towards the end. Now that's because the last chapter or so it turns into a weak first person shooter almost, and it feels just out of place. It's trying to conclude the story and it seems they didn't quite know what direction to take it. Fortunately though, there's a great 12 or so hours of gameplay before you reach this point, and the story's mystery, it may have done just enough to hook you so you keep on pushing through.
So my third addition to this list is definitely one of the more tougher survival games out there, and one which from the get-go doesn't really hold your hand or tell you what to do. Now 2017's Ark Survival Evolved saw a bit of a rocky launch, especially on consoles, but since its release there have been numerous patches and fixes to help quash those bugs and improve its performance, and a whole host of content updates, which up until the recent Explorers Edition hit Game Pass, have only ever been available as paid DLC. Now though, you can explore Ark in all of its glory, from its dinosaur dodging base game to the desert filled lands of Scorched Earth and radioactive caves of Aberration. Now I spent quite a lot of time with the game when it first launched on Xbox, and I have to say it's definitely up there amongst the more challenging survival games, and simply getting off the starter beach is a bit of a hill climb in itself. If you do stick with it though, you will find a lot to like about the game, with everything from extensive base building mechanics and a wide variety of weapons to craft, to dinosaur breeding and taming, and a massive selection of tech to unlock, giving you plenty of hours of progression. What I will say though is that the game is best played with a bunch of friends, and indeed there is no offline mode with this one, so it can only be played online. If you're new to the genre, you're not going to have the easiest ride with this one, but overcoming its hardships always feels like a real achievement.
Subnautica and Below Zero then we are bundling together, but both the original and the sequel, they are available on Game Pass. Now I prefer the first entry personally, but I also didn't complain at more with a new frozen landscape in the sequel. Like Breathedge though, this is another one with oxygen meters and 360 degree movement, but where this one gets unique, you'll need to build up that equipment and ability to explore too deep because the pressure will absolutely crush you. It's a huge oceanic world though, and there's some seriously impressive visuals on offer here. It's also then optimized for the Series X and S. Don't make my mistake though and venture too far. The Leviathan in the world, huge monsters, they should not be underestimated, and they are not like scared to go and introduce themselves to you. Absolutely scared the crap out of me though the first time I encountered one. Outside of the story mode then here you can jump into hardcore mode. Here you'll find the genre kind of favourite permadeath, but you will absolutely need to practice a serious amount before you consider taking it on.
So while I spoke about rocky beginnings with Ark, our next game has to take the biscuit when it comes to bad starts, and has to have had one of the most controversial launches in gaming history. I'm talking of course about No Man's Sky. Now developer Hello Games got slammed hard when the game launched after promising way more from it than they could deliver, but thankfully the team stuck with it and turned things around, and now we have one of the best space-based survival games ever created. The sheer scale of this game though really can't be understated. You have a literal galaxy worth of stars to explore, each of them containing a living, breathing solar system populated by planet-sized planets, and since its release the game has received a ton of different updates, each of which brings new and exciting features to the game. It literally has everything though: mining, crafting, base building, animal taming, ground and space-based combat, and a fair-sized online community with which to explore the galaxy with. Now, I really enjoyed this one on launch despite it under-delivering on a lot of its key features, but after dipping back in a couple of months back, it was great to finally see the vision that Hello Games had for the game come into fruition, and as I got to exploring its procedurally generated planets, most of which have still never had a player set foot on them, I was reminded of what an ambitious project it actually was for the studio, and how there's nothing else really like it when it comes to survival games. The quality of life improvements have also made a massive difference to how accessible the game feels, with you now having instant access to its multiplayer features, and if you've never actually played No Man's Sky, or like me, did on release but was disappointed by it, then I highly suggest you download it and give it another go.
My favourite by far then, The Long Dark. It's a fantastic addition to Game Pass. This game is a masterpiece in my eyes, and I think it's a great option for both newcomers and veterans. Don't take that though as it being, easy. It's not, but you have options around permadeath, and I think the story, it's a constant sense of forward progression, which newcomers may find a little bit more inviting. Likewise, it's a fun story. You're in a plane crash, you land in the wilderness, and a friend is now missing. It's time to get to work, go find them, or I guess I should say go survive. Along the way though, meet the locals and the friendly and not so friendly wildlife, and brave the freezing temperatures. The particular highlight for me in this one, the visual effects. It's got this exaggerated look at points. It just looks absolutely stunning, and the story was finally capped off with its final chapter. When it comes to the gameplay, this pretty much has everything a survival fan could be looking for, from the elements that you need to survive to the local wildlife to, gathering resources. It is an absolute must play, and if you've never tried an entry in survival before, I would absolutely recommend you start here. And that's our current top 8 survival games on Game Pass. What have we missed though? Let us know in the comments down below. Maybe check out some of our other lists as well. We have top local co-op for Game Pass and also horror for Game Pass. They are both live right now, both linked in the pinned comment down below. With that though, hit subscribe, join us here on Xbox Corner for reviews, deals, Game Pass breakdowns and graphical comparisons weekly, and we'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.